After a tough start in life, these young kestrels are thriving. When the chicks were just over a week old, their mother disappeared. But incredibly, their father, Mr Kes, has managed to bring them up on his own, with a bit of help from me. Now at 3 weeks old, they're nearly ready for their next adventure, fledging. Fledging is when a young bird takes its first flight and leaves the nest. And the signs are good. They're full of energy as they stretch and flap their growing wings. Even the youngest chick is bouncing around and practicing hunting. The next step is taking a look at the outside world. One of the chicks jumps up and sits at the entrance for the very first time. The father, Mr Kes, is so dedicated to his chicks, and as they prepare to fly, he's doubling his efforts. This chick seems so overwhelmed by the outside world that it drops the vole out of the entrance. Thankfully, Mr Kes makes regular deliveries. And when he's away, I'm close by to lend a hand too. The kestrel chicks are almost a month old and nearly ready to fledge, so I'm heading in now to give them the last feed. This is quite incredible how far these little kestrels have come from those tiny little chicks a few weeks ago into these amazing creatures ready to take to the wing. Even though they're looking really similar now, I can still tell which were the three I had in for a week, and it's these three at the front. These three were in a critical condition after the mother disappeared, so I'm still keeping a close eye on them. So that's the little one I'm just feeding now. That was the one that nearly died, and it's the one that's just got a little bit of down still left on it. So this is quite an emotional moment. I'm going to close up the back of this nest, and the next time I see these kestrels, they could actually be flying on the wing. It's now the start of June, and as dawn breaks, one of the older chicks clambers to the entrance. And another joins it to take in the sunrise. They scuffle in the entrance. It looks like this one might be ready. It looks around, working out which way to go. And within moments, it takes its very first flight. At just over a month old, the first chick has fledged the nest. The first kestrel chick fledged this morning, so I'm going to try and catch up with it and see how it's doing. It's common to find fledglings close to the nest, so I'm hoping to spot it perched on one of these sycamore branches. But this fledgling hasn't had a perfect landing. I was expecting to find this kestrel chick up in the trees, but it's just down there in the wet grass, so this one might need a helping hand. So this one's feathers are wet through. It's not going to fly in this condition, but it feels a really good weight. So these feathers are going to dry out really quickly once it's out of the wet grass, and then it'll be able to fly again. I'm going to pop it up on a branch right next to the nest, and hopefully it'll settle there. The chick seems happy, perched on the branch. I'm keen to see what it does next, so I'll get into position with my camera. Its feathers dry out quickly, and it's on the move. I watch as it works its way up the tree, finally reaching a perch that it's happy with. It's just fabulous to see our first chick out in the wild. Once fledged, the chicks will hang out near the nest and be provided for by Mr Kes. There's 2 days between the eldest and youngest, so they won't all fledge at once. It could be a while before they're all out and about. So in the morning I'm watching closely to see who will be the next to go. Now the first chick has fledged, the others want to take flight too. Inside they practice their flapping technique, getting ready for that all-important first flight. They're hopping around the nest and testing their talents. They're on the road to independence now. Within a month they'll have to fend for themselves. All this activity is tiring work, but I'm sure they'll be raring to go tomorrow. But in the morning they're sleeping in, and they barely stir as Mr Kes arrives with breakfast. But they're soon full of energy again. Just after 9 AM, one of the young kestrels comes to the entrance. Has a good scratch. And decides it's time to fledge too. The branch outside seems the perfect distance for a first flight. And once it's found its balance, it flies up into the trees. It's a successful fledge. Back at the nest, the other chicks are itching to take off. In the entrance, they're looking longingly. And inside, they're climbing the walls. In the late afternoon, a chick ventures to the edge. And the others call excitedly. Egged on by its siblings, the third kestrel takes to the wing. Not the most elegant landing, it still has a lot to learn. But this one makes it into the trees on its own. And as the day comes to an end, there's only 3 chicks left. So these are the 3 youngest chicks that I had in with me, so it's no surprise these are the last ones to go. And I can't wait for tomorrow to see how they get on. The next day, one of the chicks wastes no time heading outside. It spends the morning preening and flapping. And just after midday, we have our 4th fledging. My first rescue chick has taken flight, and now only the smallest 2 are left to go. Mr Kes is trying to tempt the final chicks from the nest, and hasn't delivered food for 2 days now. But these two don't seem quite ready to go. Meanwhile, the fledglings aren't far, roosting in the trees. And the following afternoon, the chicks get a visit from one of them. The fledgling has a brief look inside. Before being knocked from the entrance. Just in time to grab some food from Mr Kes, who's feeding nearby. This visit seems to have motivated one of the chicks. Only an hour later, the fifth kestrel takes flight. Now only the youngest remains. But it's not alone for long. One of the fledglings drops in to spend the night. The youngest chick seems pleasantly surprised by the visitor. And the two soon settle in together. The youngest chick hasn't been fed for a couple of days, so I'm just going to head down and give it a bit of extra food. This youngest chick is the one that nearly died, and it's looking a bit thin. So over the next couple of days, I feed it back up to strength. It's much more energetic now, head bobbing, stretching, and even flapping its wings. And the following day, a week after the first chick fledged, it's finally time. Just after dawn, the last chick takes to the skies. This has been a truly unique story. I've followed this kestrel family all year, witnessing every moment as the pair chose their nest, laid a clutch of eggs, and welcomed 6 healthy chicks. Tragedy struck when Mrs Kes disappeared, and 3 chicks were taken into my care. But Mr Kes stepped up, defying all the textbooks as he learnt to feed his family. And eventually they could be reunited. Mr Kes has worked so hard to care for his chicks, with a bit of help from me. Despite a challenging start, all 6 chicks have fledged. What a success story. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to see more. Here's a taste of what you'll enjoy seeing on this channel.